Moving to maybe a bit more trickier question, very topical at the moment, is the question about reparations for slavery. Should the next leader of the Conservative Party, if they become Prime Minister, agree to pay them or not? And this comes in context of obviously the Commonwealth leaders meeting taking place over the last few days, and seeing Caribbean islands getting together and asking for upwards to £19 trillion in reparations. 19 trillion. I mean, Labour talk about a £22 billion black hole, which they then won't provide the details of. I wonder what's the thoughts here? Should Britain be paying reparations? Should our new leader be saying that's the direction we're going to go to? And then how much should we be paying? I'll come to Steve Tuckwell first.
Yeah, I think certainly the new leader, no to any form of reparations. And I think the only reason why this has come about is because we've got a foreign secretary who has said in the past that he is in favour of reparations, and we should be paying a compensation for events that happened over 200 years ago. So I'll keep it short, but my answer to that is absolutely not. But the only reason we're here is because of David Lammy, and he is an absolute disaster of a foreign secretary.
So quoting Thatcher with no, no, no. Dawn, Melvin.
Well, another situation where I feel I'm living in the twilight zone. One of my grandchildren, his father's Nigerian, and my other little grandson, who's only sort of 5 weeks old now, his father's from India. So for all those people out there that want to hit me with the race card, don't even go there, right? Just don't even think about it. The situation that we've got now has, I believe, come about. I don't know whether Keir Starmer was or was not a good barrister. I've no idea. Didn't instruct him, never worked for me. So I'm not in a position to judge that. But what I am in a position to do, as somebody who had a mediocre to good education, is I'm horrified by the lack of intelligence that anyone discussing this in the Labour government has. They clearly didn't do history at school. And if they did, they weren't listening. They've no ability to learn the true facts behind where we are now. And in fact, what a vile little bowl this is going to open if they start pushing this, because I don't want anyone throwing nasty accusations at Africa or people that lived there hundreds of years ago about what they did to their own people. I don't. And I don't want them doing that about India or anywhere else. So do you know something? They need to stop opening this, because much as we can look at the history behind it, and you'll have people one side saying, yes, well, we want reparations because this is what happened. Well, you know what? Go off and learn about 1,600 vessels that were saved. Learn about 150,000 slaves that were saved. Learn about the 17,000 sailors, which included black sailors, by the way, not just white sailors, black sailors that lost their lives in combat or to disease whilst they were trying to free slaves. You know, people need to just educate themselves a little bit more, I think. They really do. And for my grandson's sake, both of my grandsons' sake, I think they need to stop hurling things at anyone anymore about this. Otherwise, they're not going to grow up with a guilt thing about, well, I'm British, therefore I have to hold responsibility for this. They're going to grow up with thinking, well, I'm Indian, so I have to bear responsibility here, or I'm African, so I have to bear responsibility here for what my ancestors did. We need to leave this where it is.
Well, Stephen Barrett, are you going to apologise for something that happened before you were born? Should any of us apologise for something that happened before we were born?
No, and that's the absurdity. And human societies fall into this trap quite a lot, which is why you'll find in quite a few holy books, including in the Bible, that there is no such things as the son is not responsible for the sins of the father. And that's wise and sage advice, because the minute you go down this road, you can always find some grievance and some wrong that was committed hundreds, if not thousands of years ago, that you can then use as an excuse now for your hatred and your anger and your shame peddling. And really, I've talked a bit about shame and shame-based control. That's what's going on here. And it's just that this government hasn't got a backbone and hasn't got the slightest ability to survive being shamed. That's why he bent the knee. Okay, that's why he did it, because he doesn't have the moral strength to go, I'm not a racist. Well, he's terrified of people calling him a racist, but he doesn't have the moral fiber to just know in himself, do you know what, I'm not a racist. Which is what I never worry about it. I'm not a racist. It's not even any way tricky. But they give into shame-based control constantly. And the more you do it, the more people come back. And it's just going to get worse.